So how's everybody doing? Good? My name is Vaughan, and welcome to Integrating with the Epic platform. Personally, I've spent the last 7 years working with the Epic community and helping them interoperate. And for the last 3 of those years, I've had the opportunity to live here in the Netherlands and work specifically with the Dutch Epic community to help them implement and support integrations. Up until now, it's mostly been V2 and V3 HL7, but it's really exciting actually to see folks from UMC Groningen, AMC, Radboud, and OVG here this week. I don't know if you guys are in the audience. Maybe. Okay. Because as they start moving into supporting, looking into FHIR, Epic is there to support them. For those of you who haven't heard about Epic, we are a US-based electronic health record company. We currently have over 190 million patient charts worldwide in 11 different countries. In 2006, we started our first international venture here in the Netherlands, and it's exciting to see us continue to grow internationally. Epic was created in 1979 by our founder and CEO, Judy Faulkner. She's a developer from the University of Wisconsin. And from the start, really in part due to her developer background, we've really been a company that has a culture that embraces our inner nerd. And what that means is we focus on what we do best, and that is development. So you all are here today, hopefully to hear about how you can develop with the Epic platform. I'm going to tell you about some of the current things we're doing with standards-based interoperability functionality, as well as some of the cool projects that we're currently working on. I'm also going to show you how you, the developer, have access to Epic's development tools and documentation so you can start developing on the Epic platform today. Now, as an American living here in the Netherlands, I'm really impressed by the Dutch railroad system, even though I have the occasional train delay. But there are hundreds of kilometers of tracks that connect city to city all over the country. And imagine if each city had their own standard for what size railroad gauge to use. Trains just wouldn't be able to commute. So that's a little bit like, luckily for us, in the 1840s, standard railroad gauge was created. Now, that was pretty simple, and unfortunately for us, healthcare IT is not that simple, as we know. But because of those complexities, it really allows for us to do great things. We at Epic are really dedicated to this cause and believe that standards-based interoperability both decreases cost to developers and customers and increases reliability and usability. So it's something we really care a lot about. Now, before I get too far in, I think it is worth taking some time to peek under the covers of how a complex EHR like Epic works at a technical level. There's a lot more to Epic than just apps accessing Epic's data. We spend a lot of our time in research and development here in the middle. This includes information models that describe how information is stored and how it should be accessed, and a process model that describes what should happen when information is accessed or updated. Take, for example, a medication order. It's not just static data. Rather, it's got its own life cycle. It starts with the pharmacy, where it gets verified, and later gets administered to the patient. It's changing over time. There are business rules and security constructs that describe how data should be accessed. For example, the Get Problems web service for a patient context needs to account for whether a problem should even display at all, or what the patient-friendly text of the diagnosis is. So when a web service like FHIR or an API accesses or updates data in Epic, everything that happens here in this middle area still needs to be respected. APIs like FHIR often have data models that aren't as rich and fully formed. So when data passes through into Epic, we have to fill those holes with the new data so that it looks like it's generated natively from Epic. It's critical for us, the EHR vendor, to take care of these middle layers, nuances, when we expose APIs. All right, so the first stop on our tour, I want to tell you about open.epic. Open.epic is an open and public platform for third-party vendor integrations. Hosted at open.epic.com, it encompasses documentation and processes to lower the barrier for our own Epic-using health organizations, developers like yourself, and device manufacturers to integrating data with the Epic EMR. Open.epic is publicly and freely available, where we publish many of our standards-based specifications like SMART, FHIR, and many more. You can create an account using any OpenID providers, such as a Gmail or Yahoo account. This will give you access to both read and download our publicly available specs. Your account also gives you access to our API sandbox, where you can test your FHIR integrations. The open.epic FHIR sandbox is where you can test against a limited selection of our FHIR applications. Here you can see the FHIR sandbox in use, testing the medication prescription resource. Open.epic also provides access to our SMART sandbox. Again, this is freely and publicly available for developers to test and develop against Epic's SMART implementation using OAuth 2. Now, hopefully earlier today you were able to attend the SMART talk, but if not, it's okay. I'm going to go into that a little bit more later. All you need to do to use the sandbox is include your launch URL, OAuth 2 URL, and your unique Epic-provided client ID to launch your app. Once authorized, you'll be able to query Epic's FHIR server and begin testing your app. There's a lot more I'll talk about SMART in a little bit. Open.epic was made publicly available to promote interoperability within the community and to make it easier for developers to integrate with the Epic platform. Now, the next stop on our tour is the App Orchard. Launched in spring of this year, the App Orchard is a developer program for Epic community members and software developers like you that provides specifications for FHIR and Epic's APIs, is a sandbox for testing integrations, allows access to Epic training courses and developer events, and is a marketplace to share and sell your apps. I'll do questions at the end, but I'm actually going to go through all of those points in more detail. We've loaded the App Orchard with hundreds of API specifications, the full library of Epic's APIs and web services. So you, the developer, can learn how to integrate apps with the Epic system. This is also just the beginning. So as we develop new APIs, content specifications, and developer manuals, the App Orchard website is going to continue to grow. You see, the App Orchard really breaks down into two main components. On one hand, the App Orchard is a developer program, including tools and sandboxes to develop and test your applications. On the other hand, App Orchard is a marketplace where you can review and acquire apps. To enroll in the App Orchard is easy. Start by registering online at apporchard.epic.com. Once approved, you can select which program tier best fits your needs and agree to the App Orchard contributor agreement. We provide 3 tiers of support. Each provides increasingly amounts of resources, including on-site training, invitations to our developer conference, support from Epic developers, and more. All tiers provide access to our full API and FHIR catalog, sandbox environments, and 1 or more free app listings in the marketplace. The App Orchard Sandbox is the place where you can develop and test your apps directly on the Epic platform. Depending on your program tier, you can have up to 3 versions of Epic available for testing. This means not only can you test with Epic 2015 and 2017 released APIs, which are the 2 most recent versions that most Epic community members are currently using, but you also can have access to the unreleased Epic version 2018 APIs. With 2018, you can test in-progress APIs that are not currently released so that your awesome app can be ready to go before the customers even install the newest version. Once your app is ready to go, the App Orchard Marketplace is where you can share or sell your app. Live since September of this year, there are now over 20 apps currently published in the marketplace, with new apps being added fast. The App Orchard Sandbox also includes access to Kit. Epic's Kit allows third-party applications to access interface and user-entered data from Epic's data warehouse called Caboodle. This is perfect for your larger machine learning type apps that don't necessarily need data in real time and require significant amounts of data. For each app that gets published in the marketplace, Epic creates app-specific documentation that's available to all Epic customers in our standard documentation library, Galaxy. These implementation guides make it faster and easier for organizations to install and use your apps, minimizing overall cost and time to get your apps up and running. Enrolling in the App Orchard also gives you access to attending our App Orchard conference, where Epic staff come together, where Epic community members, developers, and Epic staff come together to share what they're working on. Just last week, we had our very first App Orchard conference in beautiful Verona, Wisconsin. With over 270 attendees, the two-day conference was filled with customer and vendor-led presentations, meet the expert sessions with Epic developers, and an industry developer panel discussion. Looks like they're having a lot of fun as well. Coming up in February of next year, we'll be hosting our first ever App Orchard developer class on site at our Epic Verona campus. Both the silver and gold tiered programs include access to register for on-site Epic training. During our two-day training courses, you'll learn how to use our tools and develop your own app. You must be enrolled in the App Orchard to attend class and should come with a knowledge of how to do development. In our classes, we'll walk you through the process of developing an app on top of Epic, as well as teach you basic Epic information to help you with your app. All right, so at this point, I'm sure you're all excited to start developing your very first Epic app, but are asking yourself, what FHIR resources do we support? Since its release, Epic has been dedicated to supporting the FHIR community. Not only have we developed the standard, but we believe in the importance of being engaged in the discussion to help the standard mature and grow. Available now, Epic provides support for 18 unique read resources in both our 2017 and 2015 versions. All specifications are readily available for you to begin developing in the App Orchard. From here, the list will continue to grow as we plan to support additional resources with every new Epic release. We're excited to announce that coming in our 2018 release, we'll begin supporting our first write resources for observations, appointments, patients, and allergy intolerance. Let's dive into a few of these upcoming 2018 resources further. Patient encounter data will be available to retrieve details about when and where patients have been. With 2018, you'll be able to file clinical data such as allergies and vital signs directly to the Epic chart. Epic participates with a group called the Argonauts, who are US vendors and healthcare organizations that form to encourage rapid adoption of SMART and FHIR. This past year, as the Argonauts focus, Epic used newly supported resources to support cross-enterprise scheduling using FHIR, something we're looking forward to releasing in 2018. So at this point, you might be asking yourself, how can you actually integrate these cool APIs into the clinician workflow? Well, like I alluded to earlier, SMART on FHIR has a really great answer to that, and we at Epic are really big fans of SMART on FHIR. SMART on FHIR provides reliable, secure authorization for a variety of app architectures through the use of the OAuth 2 standard. Up until now, there was yet to be an SDO behind SMART, which made it a bit more challenging to make changes to the spec. But for these reasons, and because Epic really believes in the potential of SMART, we've worked together with our peers and the community to formally adopt SMART on FHIR into HL7. We are still in the process with HL7, but are well on the way. Hopefully you were able to attend Josh's earlier tutorial on SMART on FHIR. He's really done a lot of great work getting SMART into HL7. So if you missed the tutorial, it's okay, because I'm going to now dive into some of Epic's current and new features that we're working on with SMART. Let's first start with a little bit of background. So the SMART specification describes two main launch sequences. First is the EHR launch, where the user is already logged into the EHR and launches a SMART app. Through single sign-on, the EHR passes the user's identity to the app. So the app doesn't need to re-authenticate the user. For Epic, this method also includes a patient-facing scenario in our patient portal, MyChart. The second method is a standalone launch, where the app is launched separately from the EHR. In this example, the user begins the SMART app that we redirected to the browser of the EHR's logon page, where they can validate their credentials to gain access. Epic has supported the EHR launch for both patients and clinicians since 2015 of our software. Whoop. That means that almost all Epic community members have access to this functionality today in their production environments. Launching from the EHR works both in hyperspace as well as from our mobile platforms like Canto, shown here, and passes user and patient context to quickly give access to your apps. Similarly, Epic has supported the standalone launch for patient-facing apps since our version 2015 as well. Here's one example of what our patient portal MyChart looks like, because each Epic community member has the ability to customize and brand their page to meet their own individual needs. When the app first starts up, it launches the web browser and takes the user to the MyChart page like this one. From here, they can enter their credentials and move on to approving the app. After logging in, the user is taken to this page to approve the app or not. As you can see, the page presents many details about the approval. Which app is being authorized, what data the app can access, as well as the patient for who the app is authorized for. In Epic, we call this proxy access, when you may be caring for a loved one, like your newborn child. It's up to organizations if they will allow users to authorize apps for their proxies they care for. In addition to patient-facing standalone launch, I'm excited to announce that we're developing a clinician-facing standalone launch in the Epic 2018 version. We're releasing it in our 2018 version and retrofitting it back to our 2017 version, which means that many of our Epic customers will have access to this functionality sometime next year. This is a big deal and really something that you can take advantage of. Hooking into an organization's central authentication server, such as Active Directory or LDAP, can be time-consuming and therefore expensive. But by using Epic as your central authentication server, you can save their implementers time and reuse their username and passwords that their clinicians are already familiar with. But what about apps that don't necessarily have a user for authorization? Well, also in the 2018 release, we will support back-end services for system-to-system data exchange. With this release of back-end services, OAuth is now Epic's preeminent authorization and authentication method. Our goal is to have one auth and Z layer and technology regardless of your integration method. In 2018, we will also be supporting OAuth 2 introspection endpoint. This is useful for apps with even more complicated architecture or even external API gateways. The way it works is by determining if the token is valid by querying the standard OAuth 2 API on Epic's authorization server. In summary, we are doing a lot with SMART right now and are really excited to continue growing in our efforts in helping it mature and grow. Now that we've talked about how Epic supports SMART on FHIR, let's look at one app that's been developed. So here's an app from the University of Utah, and they've done work to integrate this bilirubin management app into the Epic environment. It's launched from within the EHR and generates a nice visualization of bilirubin levels in newborns over time, using Epic's data as its core. As you can see, the creation and adoption of SMART to produce an app like this is a great step for the industry. It's increasingly popular and standard way to build apps on top of EHR. However, there is a slight gap. Specifically, in this bilirubin chart app, as seen on the previous slide, it's only actually relevant for newborns less than 120 hours old, and with bilirubin results that are either not documented in the chart or outside normal range. If an end user is not aware that the app is available or does not know that these specific criteria are being met, this critical app might not be used in a timely manner. And that's where clinical decision support, or CDS, comes in. CDS hooks are the standards-based solution for integrating SMART applications within Epic clinical decision support tools. Epic has supported CDS hooks for years with best practice advisory alert web services, and now supports SMART apps as well. As I mentioned before, Epic's worked with a group called the Argonauts, and together we chose to focus on CDS hooks in 2017, in addition to the cross-enterprise scheduling I discussed earlier. Epic's first release of CDS hooks will support the Argonauts use case, which is when the EHR invokes a CDS service via a patient view hook, resulting in a SMART app link card that the clinician uses to launch the SMART app. Additionally, we are working with a third-party security auditor who is evaluating the security model. You can learn more about CDS hooks tomorrow in Kevin Shackleton's presentation titled Remote Decision Support, and in Bryn Rhodes' presentation titled Distributing Decision Support with FHIR. You should definitely check those ones out. For the last part of our tour, I want to tell you about some very new projects that we at Epic are just starting to get our hands on. The first is developing support for the subscription resource, which is intended for back-end data synchronization. Have you ever considered querying a web service on a reoccurring schedule? Maybe every hour, 20 minutes, 5 minutes? Well, you could end up with a bit of a performance nightmare, and that's exactly why a modern HTTP-based event notification solution is needed in our industry. Epic is working with the standards community to help enhance and mature FHIR subscriptions to make them more useful to the community, because we believe there's really a lot of potential. The way it works is that the app writes a FHIR subscription resource that includes a URL, so that any time a change happens that meets criteria in the EHR that the app subscribes to, the EHR sends data to the app URL in the subscription resource, keeping the servers in sync on the back end. Then at any time, the app has the ability to delete the subscription and stop receiving updates. This fits really well with Epic, as we already have a mature and flexible event processing architecture. We're currently investigating building FHIR subscriptions on top of our event architecture, as well as building support to subscriptions in addition to that. Epic also is also working directly with HL7 on a new FHIR resource called a user session resource. The user session represents the current users, their workstation, patient, and study, and alerts the app anytime the session changes with the new information. FHIRcast is a new context synchronization standard that utilizes the subscription of a user session resource to use the FHIR infrastructure for workflow context sync that is front-end user-driven. With FHIRcast, your app will subscribe to the user session in the EHR. When the patient's chart is opened, it will notify the app of the event, which will open the patient within the app with the information from the user session. Then again, at any time, the app is able to delete the subscription and choose to stop receiving updates. One practical example of FHIRcast is in an imaging workflow, where something like a PAC system would write a subscription based on the user session in the EHR. Anytime the user session changed, like when the end user navigates to a different patient, the data would be updated in the app. This allows the application to remain synchronized in a straightforward and easy way. FHIRcast is in the early stages of development, and we would love for you to get involved to help us mature this useful resource. To learn more about FHIRcast, you can read about what we're doing at FHIRcast.org. Additionally, FHIRcast will be a track as part of the January 2018 Connectathon in New Orleans, where developers will come together to discuss and test the standard. If you can't make the trip all the way to the US in January, then perhaps the Connectathon in May in Germany could be a great opportunity for you to get involved. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, I want to extend a heartfelt bedankt to FHIR for inviting me to speak, and everyone here for joining me today. I hope you're excited to start working on your own Epic creation, integrating with the Epic platform. For more information over the resources that I discussed today, please check out the websites that I have listed here. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your conference. Yeah, there's some time for some questions.
I understand that the current Epic implementation of FHIR is DSU2. You talked about a 2018 release. Is that going to be STU3 or?
Yeah, so we are, the specific which resources are supported and which version is should be all listed on the website, on the App Orchard website.
Okay, it will be STU3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk about when the write access to the FHIR document will be available?
That's a good question. 2018, so actually the specs should be available now from the App Orchard, but specifically 2018 will be released in February of next year.
And that includes the FHIR document, write access to it?
Yeah. Yeah.
With FHIRcast, do you consider also receiving user session change from other systems? For example, they change to another patient in the PACS and you would change the patient chart to that patient?
I haven't personally thought about that, so I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
How does FHIRcast relate to CDS hooks? What is the relationship there?
So FHIRcast and CDS hooks, I think that it would allow it to not specifically integrate, but I mean if you were launching, if we had CDS hooks to say, hey, you're in Radiant, which is our radiology app, and it would just maybe even automatically launch the packs from there, that would be one way to integrate, but I think there's a lot of different ways that it could be used. Okay, well, I'm going to be here today and Friday. Okay, one more question?
Zach, These APIs are available outside USA?
Yeah. So we, I believe in Australia, I think I saw your presentation earlier, we have one customer in Australia. You can access these as well.
So presumably you can't conform to the Argonaut specification outside USA. How does that work?
That is a good question. I'll have to follow up with you on that. Let me write.
FHIR server.
Yeah, go ahead.
FHIR server is quite new. So is there also access to the data? So if you have old customers, like they used it way before, is there a way to access the data that they already have too, or do they have to migrate it to the FHIR server?
No, so once the customer upgrades to our FHIR server, it works on both the 2015 and 2017 with that data. So there's no upgrading process that they have to do. Okay, I'll be here this week to answer more questions. Thanks, everyone.